So wheat. One is, I'm going to slaughter that chitta, the specific word for wheat, with Genesis 30:14, and Reuben. Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes.
Yeah, and thou shalt observe the feast of weeks of the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. That's right. Pentecost. So wheat is the Pentecost harvest.
Gotcha. And then we have with Puros from Judith 3 and Sirach 39:26. 2 would be bar or bar, and Jeremiah 23:28 says, the prophet that hath a dream, let him tell a dream. And he that hath my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What is it shaft to the wheat, saith the Lord?
Yeah. Chaff, that's like the wheat and tares.
Yep.
So that's Jeremiah. So basically, like, that wouldn't align, like, the New Testament, Old Testament there.
Right. Especially with Revelation. So, Joel 2:24, and the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall overflow with wine and oil. That's interesting. I wonder what the rest of that says. Amos 5:11, for as much there as your treading is upon the poor, and ye take from him burdens of wheat. Ye have built houses of hewn stone, but ye shall not dwell in them. Ye have planted pleasant vineyards, but ye shall not drink wine of them. And then, that we may buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of shoes, yea, and sell, I missed it, yea, and sell the refuse of the wheat. And then in other passages, it's translated grain or corn. That's interesting, corn, in America. So 3 sitos, Matthew 3:12, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor, and gather his wheat into the garner, but he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. We're still in Matthew here, so 13:29, but he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. And then 13:30, let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Luke 3:17, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor, and will gather the wheat into his garner, but the chaff he will burn with fire unquenchable. Luke 16:7, then said he to another, and how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto them, take thy bill and write 80. Luke 22:31, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may, I actually cannot see that, sift you as wheat. Gotcha. So for other words translated occasionally wheat in the King James Version, see also corn and food. So wheat, usually the bearded variety, that's interesting, is cultivated all over Palestine, though less so than barley. The Great Plain of the Huron is a vast expanse of wheat fields in the spring. Considerable quantities are exported to Beirut, Haifa, and Gaza. The wheat harvest was in olden times one of the regular divisions of the year. Let's see, Exodus 34. I'm not going to be able to read those ones.
And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks and the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. And it is not the wheat harvest today. I will call unto the Lord, and he shall send thunder and rain, that ye may perceive and see that your wickedness is great, which ye have done in the sight of the Lord. So the barley is first, and then the wheat.
Yeah.
But I think the barley is Yeshua. Like,
yeah.
because he's the first fruits of the barley. He rose and he was the first fruits of the barley. But I think there may be like another like fulfillment of like groups of people coming in at different times and things like that. Because I'm looking at these harvests as like the rapture.
Right.
And which thou sowest not that body that shall be, but bear grain, it may chance of wheat or some other grain. So that's kind of like wheat and tares too, right?
Yeah.
And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea.
So when
verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. So that's... Then he said to another, and how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take my bill and write 80. I don't know, just interesting.
Yep.
Let's go back and look at the corn encyclopedia. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren I have given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? A well-known, valuable cereal cultivated from the earliest time is first mentioned in Genesis 30:14 in the account of Jacob's sojourn with Laban in Mesopotamia in Egypt. Egypt and ancient
mandrakes.
Times was celebrated for growth of its wheat. The best quality was all bearded. And the same varieties existed in ancient as modern times.
Among which may be mentioned the 7-eared quality described in Pharaoh's dream in Genesis 41:22. Yeah, I can't see the ones that are on the right side.
I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. So 7 in one stalk.
That's interesting.
That's significant.
Right?
It's gonna come together.
All right. So Babylonia was also noted for the excellence of its wheat and other cereals. I don't know where they're getting cereals from, but I don't see that. I don't see that. But we'll look it up later. Mandrakes.
It's made from it, but I want to know what that means in that context, because I don't think it's the same.
Yeah, I don't. So Syria and Palestine produced wheat of fine quality and in large quantities. Psalm 81:16, he should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied thee. And then 147:14, he maketh peace in thy borders, and filleth thee with the finest of wheat. There appear to be 2 or 3 kinds of wheat at present grown in Palestine. The Triticum vulgar and the T. spelta, and another variety of bearded wheat, which appears to be the same as the Egyptian kind, the T. compositum. In the parable of the sower of our Lord alludes to grains of wheat, which in good ground produce 100-fold. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. The common Triticum vulgare will sometimes produce 100 grains in the ear. Wheat is reaped toward the end of April, in May, and in June, according to the differences of soil and position. It was sown either broadcast and then plowed in or trampled in by cattle. Isaiah 32:20. Blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the ass. So trampled in by cattle or in rows, if we rightly understand Isaiah 28:25, which says, when he hath made plain the face thereof, doth he not cast abroad the fitches, and scatter the cumin, and cast in the principal wheat, and the appointed barley, and the rye in their place. So that seems to imply that the seeds were planted apart in order to ensure larger and fuller ears. The wheat was put into the ground in the winter, and sometime after the barley in the Egyptian plague of hail. Consequently, the barley suffered, but the wheat had not appeared and so escaped injury.